the final chapter revisited twice. Power Records, Marvel Comics, and Curtis Magazine's battle for the Planet of the Apes. Marvel Comics produced many overlooked gems during the Bronze Age that gained appreciation decades later. Serialized adaptations of the Planet of the Apes. Films published in the Curtis Magazine imprint garner positive mentions from passionate fans. Writer Doug Mench's ability to deliver thrilling, reimagined versions of the films contributed immensely, providing incredibly entertaining material for the Curtis Planet of the Apes magazine. Impressively, Mensch elevated the material when the series desperately needed some help at the end. Battle for the Planet of the Apes, 1973, won't become a film mentioned in accompaniment with words such as polarizing, controversial, or debated. While some fans and completists find merit, the overwhelming majority of critics and aficionados of the original series bestow Battle with a simple label: the worst. Scores of troubles dragged down the inaugural franchise's fifth and final entry, including a drastically reduced budget that turned the promised ultimate battle scenes into a pedestrian B-movie affair. Hindsight proved that 20th Century Fox made the right call when cutting the budget. The $1.7 million feature only earned $8.8 million in the U.S. While profitable, the figure could not justify any further theatrical releases. Battle never established a firm footing or a desirable direction after its development phase turned decidedly rocky. Screenwriter Paul Dane left the project due to health issues, and the Omega Man, 1971, scribes John William Corrington and Joyce Hooper came on board to write the feature. The team never previously viewed a Planet of the Apes movie, an odd decision since Battle's storyline tied back heavily to the previous two films. Rewrites followed. Premise-wise, the film served not only as a direct follow-up to Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, 1972, but it also acted as a prequel of sorts to Beneath the Planet of the Apes, 1970, as the mutants from the second film make their simultaneous return appearance and timeline debut. However, the intriguing concept never lived up to its potential. In the fifth and final entry, we find humans, mutants, and apes still in conflict with one another, just in a cheap, plotting way. The brilliant director J. Lee Thompson, The Guns of Navarone, 1961, Cape Fear, 1962, and sadly, Death Wish 4, The Crackdown, 1987, returned after his success on the ultra-violent Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, 1972. Tragically, Thompson couldn't inject the same vibrant, compelling anger of Conquest into Battle, and the film fell flat. The finished cinematic result left Marvel Comics' Curtis Magazine imprint in a quandary. The predicament extended to Power Records, the legendary book and record company of Newark, New Jersey. Both companies found their creative teams tasked with taking weak source material into decent, sellable comic book adaptations. Battle left a terrible taste in the audience's mouths when it was first released. Importing a bad film into a quality comic series seems like an unenviable but challenging task. Marvel's creative teams rose to the occasion, delivering an excellent black and white magazine, serialized adaptation. Disappointingly, Power Records' attempt at a book and record audio theater production couldn't breathe life into the tepid material. Monotony on the Planet of the Apes. Discussing the adaptation starts with discussing the source material and its discontents. 20th Century Fox's decision to rush Battle for the Planet of the Apes into theaters to squeeze ticket sales from a dwindling fan base doomed the release. Granted, in 1973, motion picture audiences usually shrank with subsequent sequels, leaving only the diehard fans. Budgets dropped accordingly, but there's no reason for quality or innovation to decline. Fox failed to take the necessary additional time to develop something intriguing to create a satisfying conclusion. The studio chose to make a fourth movie in 4 years, believing the big screen franchise was marching to the graveyard. Why not take an immediate stab at one final cash grab? Battle does have some interesting allegorical themes about equality and morality. The prejudiced gorilla out of time, General Aldo, and the mutant living in the past, Governor Crop, had the potential to become complex characters. Still, the dueling protagonists end up too one-note. Does anything turn out worse than the anticlimactic battle? The Last Stand conflict lacks thrills and massively underwhelms. Budget drawbacks led to the invading mutants numbers appearing too small to launch a credible threat, and all parties, apes, humans, and mutants, move lethargically slow. The slow movement may reflect a cinematic sleight-of-hand attempt to make the mutant army larger and more menacing. Fans, especially younger ones, did remain. Many children would experience the films for the first time long after their initial release, and older fans appreciated opportunities to relive the high points. 20th Century Fox knew the fans embraced merchandising deals, and comic book readers benefited from Fox's licensing arrangements. Peter Pan and Power Records go to battle. Peter Pan Power Records of Newark, New Jersey, started strictly as a plastics company and then moved into record producing, with an eventual emphasis on children's material. The company released numerous entertaining licensed film TV show, tie-in LPs, and 45 RPM book and record sets in the 1970s. A once popular and now lost entertainment art form, book and record combos presented comic books with a radio theater-style audio recording. Children could read along with the record as the story played out, changing pages after hearing a beep. Adaptations of classic DC and Marvel comic stories helped power Power Records sales, as did other licensed properties. Star Trek, Space, 1999, and The $6 Million Man catered to younger audiences who wanted a stopgap solution when the reruns of their favorite programs weren't on TV. The popularity of Planet of the Apes continued to fuel various toys, games, and other merchandise. Working an arrangement to release record album tie-ins made sense for the rights holders. In 1974, Power Records released 4 different movie adaptations. While Power Records would adapt previously published Marvel comic stories, the POTA book and record sets reflected original in-house creations, predating Marvel's versions. The original film, along with Beneath the Planet of the Apes and Escape from the Planet of the Apes and Battle for the Planet of the Apes, weren't dumped into the market in 1974 and forgotten. The book and record sets remained in circulation into the early 1980s. Power Records would continue its POTA output with audio-only dramatizations based on the television series. Curiously, Power Records passed on crafting a conquest of the Planet of the Apes book and record. Likely, the violent nature of the 4th film made it unworkable for the format and audience. Unfortunately, the packaging did not provide any credits for the writers, artists, actors, or other members of Power Records' creative team. The first 3 releases were excellent, but Power Records couldn't breathe much life into Battle. The Power Records adaptation does a fine job of getting across themes about violence, war, and racial strife. However, the story comes off as too abbreviated, and there aren't enough compelling moments in Battle the film to import to the comic book record version. Ironically, Power Records did an excellent job with Beneath, leaving out Beneath's dull preachiness, opting to highlight the action. Overall, the Power Records' Battle release draws further attention to the source material's weaknesses. While the creators understandably had to cut down the narrative due to time constraints, some plot deletions proved disastrous. Turning the Forbidden Zone mutants into mere humans and cutting scenes connected to the mutants' nuclear strike ambitions proves quizzical. The book and record feels rushed and lacks the passion of the previous 3 works. Those producing the book and record may have a low opinion of Battle. If so, it shows. Planet of the Apes merchandise continued to sell in the early to mid-1970s, so Power Records likely did well with the Battle book and record. Any kid who read and listened to the first 3 installments would have a good reason to buy the 4th entry, and an equally good reason to feel disappointed. The final chapters in Curtis Magazine's Ape Saga. The Power Records version had already been in release for 2 years when Marvel Lacoste Curtis announced, "The battle for the Planet of the Apes begins." With the August 1976 arrival of Planet of the Apes number 23. Unlike the abbreviated Power Records adaptation, the magazine version spanned several issues and delivered a detailed and expanded narrative. The serialized version ran 7 parts, ending with issue number 28, January 1977. Each chapter's length was equivalent to a full newsstand comic, and, curiously, issue number 25, October 1976, featured 2 chapters instead of one. The excellent battle adaptation reflected the quality that enthralled the monthly magazine's readers consistently. Unfortunately, the outstanding magazine would conclude with issue number 29, February 1977. Licensing issues prevent Marvel from releasing reprints or collected editions for now. Even the most ardent POTA fans know Battle represents the low point of the series. The weak box office returns and awful reviews did not wholly diminish revenues for 20th